going on, everyone? We are back with another horror movie reaction. I'm Depraved.
I'm Hellcat.
And together we are...
Hella Depraved. Sorry.
And this is Hella Depraved Horror. This was a pleasant surprise, and yet also infuriating.
Succinct. I'll buy it. Okay.
So this is sick. This was exclusive to Peacock.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. So even the parts that were infuriating aren't going to drag the movie down too far for me.
No. I mean, it does have a lot of the standard slasher movie tropes that can be a little bit, yeah. You're like, that person can go first. Like now. Like, let's start now. But,
kind of. We'll get there. So, to give you guys the overall story, it is, I'm guessing, towards the beginning of what we will just call the pandemic.
Correct.
You guys know what we're talking about. We've been living it for the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And the world is still in the beginning of stages of everyone kind of losing their shit.
Right.
People that are fighting against mask wearing and people basically treating mask wearing as
optional,
the end all be all,
right, of staying healthy.
Right. And
this is two best friends that go into quarantine together at one of the friends' parents' lake house, which
is super
is
nice.
A goddamn mansion.
Yes.
And they arrive there only to have her ex-boyfriend show up unannounced.
Well, and even in the beginning, someone died a very...
Yeah, that was before the girls were even introduced.
Death.
That was just like in the first
5 minutes
before the score even comes in, which is always wonderful. That's a great way to start, but doesn't really matter to the story until the end, which is also a great way to start. But that means 3 people instead of the 2 people that were supposed to be quarantining together. And then the shenanigans begin. Shenanigans, yeah.
From this point on, there will be spoilers, so let it be known. Turns out the people that are... Here's the thing. It is super fun watching people being chased around in this movie.
It is.
And you actually see the heroes, I will call them, or basically the people...
Protagonists.
The protagonists of the story. Actually put up a fight.
Yeah, nobody goes into the silent night without fighting, which is lovely. It was refreshing.
Because almost every slasher ever made, it always seems like...
There's at least one that's like, ah!
You have the one that's the final person, final boy, final girl, whichever way.
And they're the fighter.
And almost everybody else just gets killed off nonchalantly.
Well, and no one died in their sleep. Like, there were no cheap shots. Like,
as a matter of fact, the killers were trying to toy with them.
They took their phones while they were sleeping, so that they couldn't call for help. Again, like, refreshing take on a standard slasher. Because, again, it had a lot of the same tropes that you know... Is the 2 best girlfriends. It's going to be a sleepover. Luckily, nobody's like... I say luckily. I don't mind scandalous. But nobody was stupid enough to strip down. You've got the ex-boyfriend who's there. You think he's a bit of a putz, honestly.
Yeah.
And turns out that he's pretty okay guy. You know.
He comes off as extremely creepy.
Well, and just dumb.
And then just as you start to root for him, they kill him off.
Which is a good time to go. Right.
You're like, and he gets such a good hit, and he gets killed off because of his own stupidity.
But man, does he he gets a couple good hits in. Yeah, like, again, he puts up a really good fight. There wasn't anything that I felt was like, oh, you shouldn't be running upstairs. There was none of that. It was, they did a pretty good job, getting in the car, trying to escape, just to find out that the tires have already been slashed, which, again, I'm glad that the killers didn't leave loopholes either,
Right. People actually get hurt and actually have to work around their injuries.
Fake death, yeah. It was fun to find out that the reason that the killer was upstairs, downstairs, and in your mother's chamber all at once was because there were two of them. Because at first you're like...
A father, son. And then you find out that really, there's three of them.
Right.
But one's not a killer.
But she pulls a Pam Voorhees. Like, pretending to be saving the final girl. And instead, puts chloroform in a face mask. Tells her she's got to put it on for her to get in the car, and then drives her back to where her husband and son are waiting.
Right.
And it, really, really good job,
Ironically
honestly.
enough, her name is Pamela.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
So...
It was a good job.
Story and plot-wise, it really does start to fall apart for me in areas. And for her and others. First and foremost, so you find out that the reason these three people are coming to kill her, specifically the main girl in the movie,
right,
is because she was at a party making out with a boy.
She took video, posted it.
There were videos
Instagram.
of it on Instagram and stuff like that. This boy, I guess, ended up catching the vid and then
passing away from it.
So they're saying that he'd gotten it from her, but they'd found out who she had gotten it from, which was the killing you'd saw in the very beginning of the movie.
Right.
So they took him out, and then
somehow they had backed it up to patient 0, which was the first kill. There was her, and she had infected 7 other people somehow. She was asymptomatic, and this was that boy's family. It was his father, mother, and brother that were specifically trying to take out the people that had been at the party, because the hashtags were like, fuck the pandemic, fuck masks, they were really... And then the final girl says probably my favorite line was, where was his mask?
Right.
Yeah, your son was at the party too.
Right.
Like...
They also touch in and reference the whole situation with everybody that went to spring break, even though the pandemic was in effect, and a lot of people getting sick and dying that way.
Miami, yeah.
It was okay. I both love and hate everything about this.
Right.
Because horror movies have had a long history of having a meaning behind them.
Right.
Which is honestly one of the reasons so many of us love horror.
Right.
That's one of the many reasons I love horror. But this one feels like it doesn't pick a side, which I hate. But I love it at the same time because it also points out how fucking stupid and crazy all of you motherfuckers were.
But see, that's the thing. And I think that it did pick a side. I mean, and I don't think that we're talking about a two-dimensional object. We're not doing heads or tails. We're playing politics here, where a lot of us are dead in the center. And yes, it is important to respect other people's health, space, how they want to live their lives, blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, to be fanatical about it to the point that you're on a killing spree of this person that you say infected your son when your son wasn't following regulations, yada, 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 is seen as just like obscenely absurd. And that's kind of what it's pointing out, because her best friend at the beginning was very like, we're quarantined, just the two of us, we've both been tested, she wants them to wear their masks in their car, and it's just the two of them, boyfriend's not there yet, and she points out, and I think that this is a good thing to start on for the movie, was that her father was elderly, had health concerns, and that she was visiting her father after the lake trip, and he wouldn't make it if she brought the virus home to him. And having my mom, who is a 10-year warrior of cancer, that it's a type of cancer that can be treated, not cured, I couldn't go back and visit her. Like, right. Even vaccinated, masked up, it didn't matter because her immune system is so low. And so having that respect for other people makes sense for me, but being fanatical has never helped anybody. No. About anything, by the way. Because that level of, like, hate and rage. So I do think it picked a side. I don't think it's just stalling and neutral. I think it is pointing out everybody did their own version of crazy.
Right.
You know? Which is, like, this is what he was complaining about in terms of, like, when we were watching it, where the story was aggravating him slightly. And I was like, oh, I am sitting here with pom-poms cheering this on. Like, this is fucking fantastic.
At the same time, I feel like there should have only been one person to live.
Oh, I don't know. See, again?
Because I also did not like the role of the main chick. Because she was very, even amongst her friends' wishes, very anti-mask. And I'm okay with people being anti-mask, right. But if you're with other people and they're requesting...
Again, it's a respect.
...that you do it, it's a respect thing. And she was absolutely disrespectful pretty much the entire movie.
She was kind of cunty at the beginning.
About her friend's wishes.
Her best friend, too. But here's the thing. I think at the end, the way that she went out of her way to draw attention to herself and away from her best friend and try to protect her, like, I think there was a redemption arc for her. Like, I think realizing, because, I mean, they do the test of her right in front of her, and they're like, yeah, you're positive. You're just asymptomatic. And, like, I think having some of the proof, even though it's not her fault entirely, that their son caught it and died. Because, again, he was maskless. He chose to be at the party, blah, 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 blah. And she was asymptomatic, which just goes to show what can happen even if you're not sick.
Right.
Like, I think there was a redemption arc. So I think that those two did deserve to live. I also think, you know, the choices that were made, especially her choices not opening herself, this was why she wasn't with her boyfriend, was she was the type of person to push love away. She realizes that there is something between them, like, right before he dies. And I think, you know, she's going to be permanently scarred from this. So, I mean, like...
She deserves it.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you on that. I'm like,
I'm not even going on based off the mask thing. She definitely deserves it for playing with this guy.
I don't think she was playing, though, because remember, she's like, this was out on the table from the beginning, and you just caught feelings. And
But then she was posting things admittedly to piss him off.
But I think it was to piss him off to prove a point, which is what she said, that they were not, you know, a monogamous couple. It was never meant... I get it. I don't think it's the right thing. Again, they were college kids. That's another thing that I liked about this. They were college kids.
Instead of high schoolers.
They were all studying actually, like, smart, helpful things. Her best friend was studying to be a doctor. So it made sense that she was able to, like, bind her broken leg and sew on herself, even though you see it's a great amount of pain, yada, yada, yada. It just made other things make sense. It's obvious that neither of them are virgins, and yet they still live. Like, we're not following all of the initial tropes that...
Oh, that trope doesn't bother me.
I'm talking about horror movies and what stereotypes I recall, and what... Honestly, what Scream kind of changed up, and now they're allowed to, you know, be women. Too. And yes. Yes, dear?
I fucking hate Scream so
I know, but I'm talking about, like, what has actually changed horror as a whole in terms of, like, the laws of horror and where those changes, where we can put a finger on when it changed. And honestly, Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich being able to get it on, and Neve Campbell still being the final girl is where you can pretty much put a finger on she was allowed to have sex and she still lived. So there is that.
That doesn't bother me either. I don't care about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I never have.
Okay.
But I love the final girl.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one person that deserved to live in this entire movie, she did live.
It was Miri.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the best friend.
Yeah.
I really didn't like the
Again,
character for
she
the
was
main girl.
smart. She was respectful from the beginning, but she wasn't a fanatic.
Right.
But I think Parker went from that entitled rich kid, because that's what she was, to understanding that her own actions have consequences. And I hope that in this storyland, she went on to be a better person for it. She had a best friend that was going to be a good example for her, so I hope that's what occurred. Right. I actually was very I never resist watching horror unless we're falling asleep, because I can't really fall asleep to it. But when you told me we were watching this, I was kind of like, not my thing. Just not.
It's a slasher. How's it not your thing? We love slashers.
Because of the name. Sick. Like, I'm tired of zombies and infections and plagues, and like I was like, it's gonna be another.
The sadness was really good zombie though.
Yeah, but it's like, I get it. Like, horror, again, like you said, normally has a story to tell, and we tend to write horror movies around what is, in the collective conscience bugging us at the time, and obviously sickness is what's getting us right now. But when you presented it to me, and well, you didn't really, you're like, this is what we're watching, and I was like, if this wasn't Blumhouse, I would be like, just a no. Yeah. And then we started watching it, and I was like, and these people are irredeemable. I hate them all. I hope they all die immediately. And then, we got like, I don't know, the boyfriend and she say goodnight. So that's what, half an hour into it. And I was like, you know what? Let's see how this goes. And then shenanigans began, and it got great.
So acting wise, Gideon Adlon is Parker Mason, which I think was he the guy in the beginning?
No, Parker is the final girl. That's the entitled girl.
Is it?
That was her name.
Her name's Gideon?
Parker and Miri.
No, the actress.
Friends. Yeah, so Gideon's her name, yeah.
I've never heard that used as a female's name. I know several males named Gideon.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was Parker and Miri, and then DJ was her ex-boyfriend.
Oh. Okay. Beth Million as Miri Woodlow. Dylan Sprayberry, that's a name. As DJ.
That's the boyfriend.
Mark Menchaca as Jason. There's no way Jason's the kid's name. And mom's
Jane
name
Adams as Pamela.
Pamela.
Someone was pulling a...
They did that shit on purpose.
They were pulling a leg. They were pulling a leg.
They did that shit on purpose. And then Joel Courtney as Tyler.
So Tyler and Pamela are the parents of the deceased, and
Maybe.
Jason is the...
Jason might be the dad. I don't remember.
Oh. Either way, Jason, Pamela, and Tyler are the trio of killers.
Okay, so...
Mark is the father.
Mark is the dad. Jason.
So Jason and Pamela are a tag team for this.
Yeah.
That's cute. Real cute,
Still
Blumhouse.
fantastic. Yeah.
So anyway, acting...
The acting was phenomenal.
Fabulous, yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah, fabulous.
The boyfriend did really well at kind of playing awkward and clingy. He played clingy really well.
It was a sweet, clingy, like, boyfriend that's... Well, not boyfriend. He was never her boyfriend. That's the thing. Like, hookup that has become friend-zoned, but that thinks there could be more. But just innocent little dolt that doesn't get it. But he's also a stoner. But then the second... Like, you think... Because he's sleeping downstairs on the couch when the killers come in. You think he's a goner.
I thought he was the killer at first.
I didn't. He was too idiotic to be the killer. But you think he's a goner, and then he just like becomes Action Jackson and like helps get his I'm just gonna call her girlfriend for the sake of it, you know, lights a fire under her ass, like grabs her, puts his hand across her mouth so she doesn't make any noise because she was just about to call out who's there or his name or something, and then, you know, gets her best friend up, gets them out of the house. I mean, like, he really steps up to the role. So I liked that he was able to play such a, like, fully rounded character.
Right. Now, and everybody played their roles perfectly.
Yeah.
Gideon did a great job of making me dislike her.
But I think, like, again, 3/4 of the way through, her character started going through that redemption arc, and by the end of it, I was honestly cheering her on. Well, I also hated the killers and their whole fanatical purpose to the point that I liked Parker by the end of it. She's also going out of her way to save her best friend. So,
now,
yeah.
There is something you brought up that you wish they would have done differently, that you think would have been better. And that was for Pamela to end up having COVID.
The mom.
Yeah.
What I wanted was, so it just ends with, like, the girls standing in the road where the cops are just showing up. And what I would have liked is, like, a ending scene where a detective is meeting with the girls in the hospital as they're getting treated or something, and being like explaining a little bit of it to them, to the point that they're like, so we tested them and it turns out that, you know, the mom is asymptomatic and has COVID, or, you know, because the mom kept like rubbing her temples and grabbing her head the whole time through, and I was like, they're gonna show that she has it, like she's got the headaches, like, you know, and she's the one that infected her kid, and this, that, and the other, and then they just didn't do anything with it. And I was like, that would be the perfect, like, you know, Greek tragedy at the end there for, yeah. But
before we rank this, I do want to take a second and just let everybody know that this specific comment section is not the place for you to argue about your political beliefs.
No.
We don't care.
No.
This
is about this horror movie and this horror movie specifically.
Yes. We've got friends on both sides of the situation.
Family members on both sides. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer of do what the fuck you want.
I'm also a firm believer
and
in
let others
staying
do
6
what
feet
they do.
The fuck away from me anyway.
Right. I believe in social distancing as a lifestyle, not because of any sickness.
Right.
But because I don't want to have to stab you.
Right.
Anywho.
Right.
Okay, so if I gotta rank this, I'm actually gonna give this 4 masks out of 5.
I'm actually I'm gonna give this a...
I made everybody think that I hated it, and I really didn't. I loved it. It was really good.
Ooh. Do you think you can find antlers?
I should be able to.
4.5 antlers out of 5. Watch the movie. You'll understand the significance. Fantastic.
Yes. Oh, you could have done coughing germs, too.
No, the antlers come into play like 3 times.
They do.
Like, wonderful use of a prop, guys. Like, fantastic.
Yeah. But yes, it was a fun movie. Really fun movie. Watch it.
Make it at least...
It's on Peacock, for fuck's sake.
Make it at least half an hour into it, and you'll realize that it is different than
it's
other slashers, and it, yeah. Like, and honestly, half an hour, and that includes
and
the
it
little...
sucks, because what sucks so bad, it really does, is I spent so much of my time in this movie rooting for the killers. And then, like you said, at one point you completely spin it around. And you're like, no,
I hate you.
These killers suck so bad, so bad.
Right? But I mean, that half an hour also includes that snippet at the beginning of the first person to die, and so giving
And you don't even know why.
right until the very end.
Right.
But giving half an hour of your time for story building so that you can then like have another 50 minutes of just
He's
a
honestly
fun time.
that very first kill is the only one of the entire movie where the guy that gets killed does so in an 100% stupid way.
Right, 100% normal horror movie
Trope.
Yeah.
Like
Which is
thinks
kinda
the guy
funny.
he thinks the guy has left the apartment, so he starts walking around, and as he walks out of it, he gets grabbed from behind, pulled in, and his
Right.
neck cut.
I even said,
We both did. We were like,
we're
he's not gone.
He's in the apartment. What are you doing? And then, yeah, we're like, okay, well, we told you and you didn't listen, so you deserved it.
Again, the could-be boyfriend.
Right.
He also does something stupid that gets him killed.
But
But to be fair, he also probably thought he had knocked the person out too.
because he doesn't watch enough horror and didn't
I mean,
double
he
tap
thwacked hard
the
enough.
ever-loving crap, right?
Again, antlers, people. It's
And
amazing.
it was after kind of a knockdown, drag-out fight, too. So, I mean, like, I can't give him a 100% stupidity award.
Right.
He really... But then the way that he is used to try and entice the girl back is also... Guys, you gotta watch it. There's, like, I didn't even remember that part until just now where he's, like, shish kebabbed and it's great. It's great.
Oh.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
Yeah, that happened way too easy as well, then.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody
but...
had that much strength.
No, but it was genius. Come on. Like, gravity will out, and that would not be... Well, unless, I mean, maybe... I figured the entire family, except for the younger son, which was the one that got himself killed with the vid, were survivalists. They're out there, and all they do is, like, hunt and I don't know. What else do survivalists do?
I don't.
Pretend like they're militia. I'm not talking about like the real
build
Bear
bunkers.
Grylls survivalist guys. I'm not making fun of those
They build
guys. I'm
bunkers
making
and
fun
load it
of
up with toilet paper. And
Right. The fake survivalists is what I'm talking about.
The conspiracy ones.
There you go. Okay. Off-grid conspiracy theorist nuts.
Right. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. We love you guys, and we will see you next time. Take care.